Hi, this is for a review of the shir we gave this past Monday. What's the date of past Monday? November
26th, maybe?
November 26th, maybe. Monday night, in which some of you missed it, and some of you may want to review. Shulchan Aruch, we're looking at the Torah. Shulchan Aruch, looking at the Torah. Siman, Shin, Lam, and Vav, which in a sense we had already ended, but there's a part that the prior week that I still wanted to go over a little bit better. Remember, in Bet of Shin, Lam, and Vav, and this is Ke'ilu Seif Bet. In my version of the Torah Shulchan Aruch, it's on Daf Kufay and Daled, but whatever it is Shin Lamed Vav Bet in the Torah, the imposed bet. And we saw that the Schar Rofei cannot be taken in terms of what he himself does, because after all, it's a mitzvah to be, for a Rofei, such as a Rofei, any person to do refuah today, it's basically a Rofei, people in the health professions. And V'hashevoto lo, or perhaps Rapo Yirapeh. And therefore in Bet it says that he can only take Sechar Batala, or he could take the Sechar of other incidental efforts on his part. But not for, as it were, not for the mitzvah itself. Now that continues in Gimel. I'll read part of Gimel, where it says, again, Kufay and Dal, the same page for those who have the same version I have. Mishi Yeshlo Sam has drugs. V'chavira Choleh, his friend is ill. V'tzarech Lahem, and his friend needs it. Asra lo b'demeim, he can't jack up the price. Yoter minarui, more than is suitable. There has to be some reason to it. That, of course, can be argued about, but nonetheless. V'lo'od, basically, this whole section is anti-big pharma. It says, you can't jack it up. V'lo'od, el afilu posku lo b'demeim. Even if they agreed on it prior, harbe, and so it's done b'demeim harbe, there'd be a lot of money. B'bnei tzorech hashah, and you agreed to it because of the need of the hour. Shalom matzu samamnim el biyado, because the fellow selling it is the only person that has it, and they agree to it. The man can only sells it, and even if there was an agreement, he only gets the going price, the ro'ui price. And that becomes a major halacha. And that we understand, but to kind of look at that, when you take a look at the Beit Yosef of Gimel, Mishi Yeshlo Samamnim, for me that's again Kufay and Dal at the bottom of the Beis Yosef, the last section of the Beis Yosef. He says this is all the Lashon of the Ramban, then he quotes the Gemara, Mitzvat Chalitza, Perak Mitzvat Chalitza, and Yevamot, Bat Chamua de Rapapa's sister-in-law, Nopla Lifnei Yavam, Sheno Hagum. So she fell into a situation that her husband died, and the Yavam, which they were supposed to do the levirate marriage and take care of her, was a person that she'eno hagumlah. He wasn't suitable for her. But eno hagumlah seems like he was not a good guy. Amar Le, the father of the girl, of now the widow, excuse me, the woman, the widow. Amar Le chalutz lo almanat shetiten l'chol matayim zuz. Give her chalitza and I'll pay you 200. And that's, kind of the bribery corruption situation that you have, because he has a right to her, and we have to get it. The father is ready to pay to get her out of it. Umasi the conclusion there in the story is the Amro Le Meshata Hayiti Bach. When he comes to her for the money, when he, the Yabam, performs chalitza, he says, pay up. And it says, He comes to pay up. She says, Mashata yiti bach. She says, I was just fooling with you. Ukidatanya, we have a parallel case that Gemara brings down in Breita. Haresha yo borech mi beit hasurim. Man's fleeing from prison. And, that's a very serious thing. The V'hoita ma'avoret lefonav. And a ferryman was before him. He comes to the river, got to get across the river. Amar le, he says to the ferryman, Tol dinar v'haviruni bo. I'll give you a large sum. I'll give you a dinar. Just get me across. Ain lo elas choro. But in the end, when he gets to the other side, all he has to pay is the same amount. So it seems that a promise extracted, or even a promise offered, in a shat tzorech, in a time of great need, we sometimes say shat hadachak, of tremendous need, that promise is not operable. We assume that it's only the regular amount, the normal amount that needs to be given, and therefore supplied here in the case of the drugs. That the drugs have a normal price or even a better price, a ro'i price, but even if one agrees, and usually agreement is sufficient in the law, we say that no, we don't allow for that ona'ah, and it's my term that I'm using here, it's not used here in the Nosei Kalim, in the commentaries, but this notion of price abuse, price gouging, is not allowed because there already is a price. People know what the price is. Yeah, someone's going to say to me, there is no price, something like kind of a radical capitalist thing. There's only prices on the basis of what people are willing to pay or can't pay. The halacha doesn't go in that direction. Halacha says there is normal prices, there's accustomed prices. It so happens in this situation that and you have this a lot in Israel. So all of a sudden, the boats don't come in, and certain objects just aren't present, and they come from foreign seas. If there's a potential of gouging, we don't allow the gouging. We don't allow the gouging to take place, and therefore that added amount is not acceptable. Now that's very important. But we'll go back now to the tour, and again we're in the middle of Gimel, and that's on Kufay and Hay for me, where it says. Second line in the Torah, how if he made a tanai with the rofe, that the rofe, the doctor, should heal him, and it was made a schar harbe, a lot of money. Chayv litain lo. Actually, this principle that we saw of no gouging does not apply, and therefore, and the patient, if he is healed, this whole thing with Nosei Kalim, we're assuming now that he's healed, he has to pay it. Why? Shechachmato mochar lo. Because in the sense the doctor has sold him his chachma, and here's a crucial point: the ein la damim. It has no money, meaning it has no price, meaning it's priceless. It's a priceless thing, and therefore there's no such thing as a set price or a normal price. It's a priceless situation, and therefore the doctor can, if the doctor demands it, the man takes it, it's sufficient. I mean, the Torah understands the difficulty, and even though it's a mitzvah on the doctor, I'm saying doctor, but it could be anyone who's in the medical profession or anyone who has medical arts. Even though it's a mitzvah for him to heal him. Shall call mitzvah say the Rabbi al kulei alba for any mitzvah. Now he's going to explain why, even though it's a mitzvah to pay him, it may be a different situation. It's a different situation here. He's now starting why it's different here. Shall call mitzvah say the Rabbi al kulei alba because any positive commandment that falls on the entire world, meaning everyone is supposed to do this. And if it just so happened that one person is there. And he does not wish to fulfill the mitzvah unless he is paid, and here being paid a lot, you don't take this money away from him, if it was paid to him, v'lo mafkin biyado, or you don't dissolve the obligation. Mafkin lo biyado chiyuv shalom. This chiyuv, this obligation, means the obligation, the commentators debated, the obligation to pay the doctor. And then he goes on how this there's a parallel case of rebate, but rebate you can't take the money away, but rebate you can take the money away because there's an actual added verse that allows for this. The question came up in Shir, what if, I think it was Yoni, what if there's the only doctor around? Meaning, this makes sense if you're in a Park Avenue building, a doctor's building, and the man you happen to knock on his door, you say, heal me, doctor, and he says, this is what it costs, and he says, the patient says, this is astronomical. So the doctor can say, this is what's on any doctor. Go to the next floor. Dr. Schwartz says, go to Dr. Cohn, go to Dr. Kaplan. Or there's another Dr. Cohn on another floor. Go to him. He says, what if it's in a location where he's the only doctor, some small town somewhere? And yeah, I think halacha probably would be different, and therefore he couldn't. But you can argue on that. But it was a good point. Now we have a comment by my filmer, Rabbi Nachum Danzig.
Yes, just a comment is that it's still a mitzvah mutal on everybody.
No, that's the point.
And therefore, he has to use his money. He said, "Well, let the community pay for it. Why should I should get paid as a doctor for my time?" Okay. In other words, even it's a mitzvah on everybody, regardless of whether they're doctors or not. And if they want to pay me to take on their responsibility, that's their point. But I can still refuse until they pay me.
Right. The only reason I said doctor, first of all, it's good, and the reason why I said doctor is because later on he says, no one should be in this line of work unless
they know what they're doing. But I'm saying it's still called a mitzvah mutelet ala tzibur.
Anybody that could. And in fact, I said it originally in Shir, it seems like the halacha is everyone should be, it's like a Jewish mother tour. Everyone should be a doctor.
The way that the tzibur can mekayim the mitzvah is through their money.
Okay. I'll take that point as well. That's a very good point. So, no, really, thank you for that. So, but nonetheless, we see from the Torah that's a little bit of a shock. And one of the things I said is, look, they need to create a system in which there's such a thing as doctors who make a good living so that they'll be in the profession. Now, it was also brought up in Shir, besides for Yoni's point, it was also brought up in Shir, when the doctors, pool together and just decide to set a very high price. I think it may be problematic halachically. I said today, what this is not taken care of, but we have to, in a sense, think about it, it's really not the doctors to blame, it's really the insurance companies. The doctors only get a small percentage.
It's the lawyers who sue the insurance companies.
It's the lawyer, well, that's what the insurance companies say, but what they show, at least in the United States, all the evidence shows that they're making money hand over fist more every year, despite what they have to say. And of course, the drug companies say we need money in order to do the experimentation, etc. We need a halachic attitude, which allows us to respond to these various factors. People need to be healed. We need a healing profession. Money seems to be part of the issue part of the grease that allows the wheels to turn. But it can't be a situation where very soon it's going to happen in America, where millions of people who had for the past 2 years on insurance and getting care can no longer get care. And it turns out that for various Jewish reasons and echoes of socialism, Israel actually becomes a much better place to be in terms of medical care. And so, how do we do this? How do we balance out these different parts? There's also the suggestion was made that people can be paid, as it were, mitzvah points, the kind of Bitcoin of morality. And I agree to a point, and I think it's true here in Israel, because you have a society in which being a doctor is a great thing. Well, you could have a society in America amongst the elite where you're an idiot using your brains to become a doctor, be a hedge fund manager, and make a lot more money. So there's a lot of different parts. And I feel that I haven't done fully the work in this direction. I think, go back, Rapoya Rapeh, V'hashevot Lo are issues that must be there. It's Rami al Kuli Alama. It applies to everyone. Now we have a point from Reb Nachum. Your point now is actually standing out even more bolate. Stands out even better for me. We all have that responsibility. You can't say it's somebody else's responsibility. So even if we don't become doctors, you can't say, it's up to the hospital to provide. We also have to provide. So it becomes. So I think the basic values are here, including the value of balancing out values. And that's what I want to say. Here. There's let's see here. So just a little piece of the Beis Yosef. Towards the end of the Beis Yosef and Shin Lamed Vav, before Reuven, before that section, this on Kuf Ayin Hey in my edition, about halfway down, right side. Eladinahu, it's the last word in the middle. Eladinahu, D'lo b'chayav yidish b'tanoim b'shas adchak b'yoter b'chdei damim. He's talking about the situation of the drugs. That shas adchak, those agreements, those price gouging agreements, don't hold by medicine, by drugs, by pills, by that. Ha b'schar rofei. However, by the schar rofei, sheshava kol kesef. So he explains that the use of this language is good because a good doctor is worth everything. Shava kol kesef. That's really what it has to be. He has to give him everything he agreed to. Even though it's a mitzvah upon the doctor to heal, and he goes on from there, but it talks into the situation as we have defined it, and that's where I'm going to end. Shin Lamed Vav, and I'm going to repeat myself. Basically, great values. You have to do refuah. Things that are done in shat, hadchak, are not respected. We go back to usual prices. We don't go to the uber hyper-capitalistic model that prices are set by whatever one wants to pay. There are known prices, accepted prices. At the same time, medicine becomes priceless, and therefore the doctor can charge a lot more. There's nothing here about the responsibility that there's nothing here about insurance companies. And if I'm making them the bogeyman right now, let me make them the bogeyman. In the sense of not necessarily just them alone, but the fact of no one taking responsibility. Ramli al kol lama. This mitzvah of healing is not just on the practitioners, it's on society. Now I got my place. It's on society to make sure people get healed. And society, therefore having that mitzvah, they're not allowed to gouge, even as we do reward doctors. Let me now go to Shin Lamed Zayin. Shin Lamed Zayin, which says, we're very worried about the choleh who finds someone, who loses someone, that this may drive him crazy, and therefore and he continues, we don't do kriya, we don't have people doing the crying if they're crying for another mate, and we keep people from doing too much nechama. And I want to look at the Bach with you, and look down like 5 lines in the Bach. Again, this is on Kuf Ayin Hey if you have the Shirat Devorah text, but it's Shin Lamed Zayin Aleph of the Bach. 4 or 5 lines down after all the Rashi script. Hachi Perusha. This is what this whole section means, and the Bach reworks it all in a very nice way. Lo b'boya shein modin oto shema titrev da'ato. It's not only that we don't tell him of a death of a loved one who's afraid of titrev da'ato, go nuts on it. El afil no delo. Even if he does know, ein motzin lo likroa shema tigadel da'agato. We don't do kriya. Even if he knows, you don't do kriya because his worry about death may increase. And we see this also in the Ran. And what it says, ein bochim, near the Hachi Perusha. This is what this means. Oh, further, in other words, they're going how much further we're careful with the person. Ela ein bochin the ein maspidim the fun of afal becha eno krovo shel choleh. And we don't do hesneds in front of him, hespedim in front of him, and tears in front of him, even for someone else, not his relative. Shelo yishaber libo, so we shouldn't break his heart. Perush, the kevish aroa cholesh zel poni mate. When he sees about death, this is the time when he himself, being sick, is obsessed with death. Ubalchim, most people love, and they do, and there's tears and there's eulogies. Nishbar libel befachado, or mepachado, I think it's probably befachado. Shema yomut gabu, who's afraid that he's going to die. Therefore, we quiet down people come in to do nechama. In other words, we cocoon. That was the charge, as it were. Are we cocooning? It's a very good point. And it was brought up by Rachel. We cocoon too much the person who's quite ill and not let them confront their own impending death. And I find this to be a terrifically interesting question here. Here there seems to be an assumption of Shema, go back to the Torah, Shema teacher Rav Data, this is how I responded, and I would actually emphasize it even more, lest this will tear him apart. But I would say, really, if in judgment, that we don't want to, we should not cocoon or coddle or overly protect the person who really wants to deal with this, if indeed he can deal. I would say the halacha here, however, is always about other people dying. It's not really about his own death, and we're afraid to have too much emotion. So therefore, what would be the real halacha today? I think the real halacha today has to really be on the Shema Titz Reif Data. What will this do to the individual? It's not like an absolute halacha in itself. We're looking about eliminating causes that will have bad effects. But if we see that actually it'd be important for him to know or her to know certain things, then maybe it's very different. I still go with the import of this section, which says the halacha of kriya or the fact that someone is bocha and a mate is always important. It's less important than what is the health and well-being, even of the person who's very sick, and may even be a person who's on their way to death. Their health is the most important thing, and that should really be the determining charge. Much more work needs to be done on this. Let's look at Shin Lamed Zayin. That was Zayin. Shin Lamed Chet, Hilchot Notel Lamut. Goses actually comes a little bit further, but the person is close to death. And let's read it now. Mishachol v'notel lamut, omrim lo, hitvadah. Now I'm turning the page in my section to Kufa Ayin Vav. Shekain derech kol mumutim, mitvadim adam mitvadim. We do that. That's in Glory in Sanhedrin, which I want to come back to at a later point. The mission of Sanhedrin is very interesting, because Vidui, a person's going to die, they're allowed, not just allowed, they should be allowed. They should give the opportunity for Vidui. And then now they quote a Gemara, which needs to be totally separate. It goes Adam separate, and the question is, how does this go? Adam yotzei l'shuk, demelo kamisham nimsar l'sar diyot. I'm quoting that which is in parenthesis is actually in the Gemara, so I don't know why it was put in the parenthesis. The person who is going through the shuk is like he's going in front of a judge, because you don't know what's going to happen to the shuk. Shuk had a lot of rowdies and a lot of things happen. Even today, every time I go to actually the shuk, I get a little shaken from things that have happened in the shuk. You get used to it in Israel, but nonetheless, I'm just recording my own. Chash b'rosho, you have a headache. Domo commission involved the kolar. Maybe you've been collared. Maybe you're also on your way. You don't know what that headache means. Olo lamita, v'nafal lamishkat. You have to lie down because you're utterly, somehow you've lost your kayach, you've lost your power. Domo commission nuhu gardom. It's like you're going to the hangman. Lidon shekol el gardom lidon in yesh praklitim gedolim. But if you go to the gardom, the court for the life and death court, the court, we don't have hanging, but the court that can give you skila straight, it's like that, but you need praklitim. Today, praklitim means a lawyer, but you need people that can give a ta'ana for you. And today, that is, if you have those praklitim mitzvah, you'll be saved. The email lab ain't mitzvah, you won't be saved. And what are our praklitim? Shaladam, teshuva umasim tovin. So vidui is the most important part of tshuva, and you confess your sins. This now becomes a formulation that is used, I tell stories about this, that is used in giving a person vidui. In such a case, many people have confessed and they have died. Many people that have confessed, many people who have not confessed, they have died. They use every kind of argument to kind of normalize the situation. Look, vidui, and it's supposed to be said in a very calm voice, almost matter-of-factly. You should know, you do vidui, is not going to trigger your death. Many people do vidui and have not died. And if you don't do vidui, I mean, you can still die. So vidui is not triggering the death process. The other part of that, of not triggering the death process, is the notion that that vidui is also should be kind of a normal part of our life. That's why I think this whole section about going to the shuk, you should do vidui. We should be able to do vidui. We should actually not just wait on Yom Kippur, which is a day we mimic our death, or for some people who do it during Tachanun on a normal day. Maybe that's a good thing to do a Tachanun on a normal day, so that when we say Tachanun, is that we get used to the notion of vidui. So therefore, vidui at the end is something we've become accustomed to, something that's come to us. One of the major questions that came up in Shir was this: what do we do in the situation that so many people today are apart from vidui? Not people that are generally not shomrei mitzvot. You know, they're attached to the Jewish community, they're attached to Judaism, but they don't know. And vidui scares the heck out of them. And they certainly, the children don't want vidui done for a parent because they figure this will really be the death. Or they're afraid that vidui sounds so Catholic. How can you do this, Rabbi? Is it only the Catholics that do vidui? It seems like there's a triple fear. There's a fear of death, and therefore there's a denial of death. No, you know, there's a denial of going on. No. There's a fear of fear of vidui, of confession. When they say it's Catholic, like, how can you say that we've had sin? So it's the fear of ever confronting one's sins, and we're confronting that situation. There's also as kind of a lack of ultimate trust between parent and child in this kind of given situation. The child could be 62. The child is very much afraid that they're going to do damage to their parents. Even within the very halachic situation, you see here a tremendous concern. It goes on to the end of the tour, concerned to do it in the right way, at the right time, and to do so. And the question is, how do we act in such a situation where people just don't want you to do it? And there's something that I missed in Shir that I should say now, maybe I'll write it up, that I did twice. In which case that families do not want to do vidui. I could just tell that happening before he even said anything. And the parent was conscious enough, and I would say something, do you forgive everyone? In one case, Ethel, do you forgive everyone for something that they didn't maybe mean to do to you? Or sometimes they meant to do it, they didn't mean to be so hurtful. Do you forgive them? And give them the power to give a mechila. And the two cases I didn't do that. And with Ethel, I forgive everyone. Another case, when I looked around to the children, and it was a father, he thought for a moment, he says, I forgive, and I'm glad to forgive. The children, I saw the tension in their faces, and evidently there was something that needed forgiveness. I have no idea what it was. But there was something, and the relief. At that point, it was very simple to say, which I did, and just use the name, and George, many people do confession themselves, and they can. Many times they live a long time. They walk out of the hospital, but a confession is a good thing. So a confession leads for forgiveness from God. It's a very important part. Would you like to? It's just, you don't have to name anything, but you'd like to confess that and say that any of my sins, do a Vidui, a confessional, which really means to say to God, any of my sins, I just hope my death gives me atonement for it. Yes, yes. And it was like a more normal thing. So I think one possibility is empowering the patient and empowering the person to do so. And I think one more thing that I want to say on this. Let me find the section. No, I think we basically said what we needed to say here. I think this is work that we need to further work on. Thank you very much. It was good learning with you. If you review all the material now in a simple way, just go over it and take a look at the Beit Yosef for the Bach, or go to the Shulchan Aruch. You'll see it's all laid out for you. Thank you very much.